So I did just want to take a moment to remind everybody that this is the 50th anniversary of our Bangor facility. We've been building transmitters in Bangor for the U.S. market since, yeah, 1975. Just for what it's worth. We don't build everything down there as a rule. Historically, we've juggled schedule based on where we could ship from the fastest. But uh, but yeah, now we've pretty much moved all of our U.S. market stuff down to the Bangor plant. So mostly you'll be getting transmitters with big old proudly made in Maine stickers on them, which may or may not be a collector's item at some point. I don't know. You know, what do they say? It's like advice. It's worth exactly what you paid for it.
There you go. Now, we did mention that in the newsletter so that
Yeah. Well, I just want to
everyone.
throw it out there because I say we are still getting, I mean, uh, a day after the whole situation was at least temporarily resolved, we're still seeing comments and questions about it. So, yep, no, I just want to throw that out there.
Do I
Uh,
dare relay Brian Walker's line?
I actually thought it was funny. Go ahead.
Br- Brian suggested that if the tariff stayed in place, that Nautel would be shipping transmitters, but they would only do 75% of the power rating.
It's like I said, if you can't have fun with this stuff, there's no point in playing the game.
Exactly.
Somewhere in here, and it's funny, I had created not really a slideshow, but just a collection of screenshots. And of course, being the super dutiful person that I am, and pushing the wrong side of 60, I forgot where I filed it. So we'll track that down later or while I'm going. But that's something you pick a good topic there because most transmitters, and it doesn't have to have our logo on it. I mean, the Gates Airs, the shoot, I know the Acressos do, several others. If you've got SNMP control, then you can put a browser on it and you can log stuff and do trend plots with freeware. I mean, PRTG will let you monitor up to 100 points for free
Bob
using
Tarcio also
SNMP.
did a similar thing with us and mentioned
Cool.
that you could, with help from the manufacturer, and you guys are
Hmm.
helpful, uh, uncover 50 or even more parameters that can be monitored.
Depending on the equipment, I mean, if you're looking at a GV40, we're monitoring over 2,500 data points continuously, and all of them are accessible through SNMP.
We're going to need AI to figure this out. Oh, I said the word.
Don't get me started.
Oh,
AI is like four-wheel drive. It's good for getting you out of shit you shouldn't have got into on your own.
open the pod bay door, Hal.
Anyway, so yeah, that's I think one of the big ones is just establishing, and y'all remember back in the day, the FCC mandated that you took meter readings or common point readings or base current readings, depending on AM, FM, what you were, and they had a fixed interval that this stuff had to be logged. And of course, we all know that 90% of the jocks out there just wrote down the last set of readings and carried on with their day. And you could be off the air for 2 days and it still showed you at full power. So, you know, it's like everything else. It's only as good as the dumbest person in the link. They're in the chain. But having said that, it is something that is useful. And like on ours with the AUI, you can go in on the legacy stuff, you go in under user settings to critical parameters. And in there, you can do a meter capture and it will do a screenshot or capture to your clipboard every single meter reading in the transmitter. And so that's kind of useful because you can copy and paste that into an Excel spreadsheet. And if you every month just open a second tab, copy and paste it in this month, and then add that, merge that into the last month's, you can have a running tally month to month to month, or
That's
week
the
to week, whatever.
legacy. That's the legacy app.
Legacy app will do it. The new one, it does it differently. We don't have user settings. We just have settings, and you can go to meters and run or download report, I think it's called.
You want to show us?
That's what I'm looking for.
Oh,
So,
okay.
like I said, I had this very, very well planned and set it up. And of course, I set it up yesterday, which means I've had time to forget where I put it. So I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it.
All right. Well, that's
But
okay.
it's in
Can,
one of the folders.
I'll start out with the top question again that I started. Will any of the items in your uh, display or settings help you with NRSC?
So on the newer boxes for us, yes and no. I mean, you can get an occupied bandwidth display. You're not going to get a decent harmonic reading from it. But for looking at your close in for the NRSC proofs, then yeah, you can see that. For looking at harmonics, no, no, you're not going to get that from us.
Okay,
And
so
I
it's
say from us, you're not going to get it from anybody. Nobody's gotten a good spectrum analyzer as far as good broadband that'll do the job of a real analyzer yet.
well, we'll
And I say
have to
yet
wait and
because
see.
anything's possible,
Sure.
but no, not at the moment.
Okay.
But yeah, for looking in the near band and seeing how you are in like as far as spurs, HD sideband spurs and all that stuff, you can absolutely see that.
Well, that's good.
See here.
Obviously, you maintain your transmitter in peak operating condition and can't show us where there would be interfering spurs. But
Actually, not so much that I operate my transmitter totally isolated from the public internet, so I can't show you. But I am looking for the screenshots.
all right. Well, that's good. Well,
So,
let's start with the very basics. You have a series of what is it, six or seven different screens that you can bring up big size on the legacy at a rate.
yeah,
And then, of course, you can do a lot of single uh, parameters on the right side as a bar graph.
right. And I mean, one of the ones I like the most, and I'm going to see if I can figure out how to not open it on that screen. There we go. Too many monitors, not enough brain cells. I think we've pretty much established that, though. Let's see, share. So there, that's just the front page. Wait till I hit the share button. There we go. So I mean, one of the ones I like the most is the baseband on the Spectrum Analyzer, and this works on both the old AUI and the new. But it's good because it gives you the ability to look at, and I mean, at a glance, I got left plus right, I got my pilot, I got my left minus right with the pilot suppression, I got my RDS. It's all there, so I don't have to guess, whether it's working or whether it's not.
Now, is
So it
this an
helped.
operating legacy right now, or just a screenshot?
That is our backup transmitter. That is, but it is a screenshot. Yeah, no, I'm not logging in. Like I said, I don't have access to that transmitter without changing some stuff at the studio.
Can
Okay.
I see the same screen on my NV?
Yep, if your software is current. So you click on the little, because if you go to the spectrum analyzer and hit the up arrow, which should be right now it's the red down arrow because I've already got it maximized. But the up arrow beside the X to make it bigger, hit the little cogwheel, the settings button, and instead of selecting, it's either FM output or MPX output, but you're going to want either baseband or MPX, depending on which software version you got. But yeah, you
Uh,
can absolutely.
I'm just wondering if I can maybe share my screen and show you what I'm looking at on my transmitter.
Yeah, sure. Here, stop share.
All right. Share screen. Okay.
There you go. So now right on the spectrum,
That
you got the little cogwheel up in the title bar.
right here.
Yep. And down at the bottom where it says output, click the drop down. Yep. Click MPX. Click OK.
Oh,
There,
okay.
there you go. And for me, that's probably more useful than the actual spectrum. Other things we show, since you've got the screen up, let's just use yours as the example.
Okay.
The EQ responses are more used in-house in the lab. So, I mean, they do let the support guys get at a glance of linearity because of your gain. But
Okay.
let's just either one, either frequency or impulse, don't care which, just hit the X and close that one for a moment. And then hit the, yep. And
Ooh,
so these are the things that we do show. If you're running HD, the constellation is a really useful one because that's the lower left, the signal constellation.
yeah, we're running HD, but it's on a separate transmitter.
Right. So that won't show. Well, let's click on it anyway. You'll see what you see. It's probably just going to be dots or a blank screen. If you're running in a hybrid HD system, that one will show you your modulation error ratio, your MER, which in an HD, just like in DTV, MER translates directly to coverage. So, the worse it is, the worse it's going to be. The tighter in they're pulled, the better off you are. So you can X that one out again. Thanks, Dan. And let's see. AM to AM and AM to PM correction is just the pre-distortion for HD again. EQ filter delay is a good one. And this one should be normally pretty close to a flat line like that. We're just, we do group delay correction in the transmitter, and it does it in analog or hybrid HD mode. So it is something that's useful to be aware of.
Okay.
But yeah, normally it's going to be a pretty straight line. If your load has a really, really bad day, then you might see some action happening in there. And that will almost be always a load thing. So just click on anything to put something up on the screen. But below the Lissajous plot, this is just like the XY in a scope looking at your audio input. Because you're obviously running composite audio, it's pre-modulated. So you're running around the vector, so you're making a circle. If you're running any analog input, whether AES, left and right, whichever, or even audio over IP, then you're typically going to see the diagonal line or the diagonal oval. And depending on how much L minus R you've got, it's going to spread out a little bit.
Okay, that makes sense. I was kind of
And
wondering, why it's just a ring.
yep, and that's why, because MPX is a composite signal is pre-modulated. So your carriers run around the vector in that. Whereas with left and right, then you've got left is horizontal, right is vertical. And in that mythical perfect world, assuming that your left and your right are in phase, then it will go from lower left to top right. If one of them is out of phase, it'll go from upper left to lower right. If you're missing your right channel, it'll be on the horizontal axis. And if you're missing your left channel, it'll be vertical. So it's an at a glance of your audio signal.
Okay. Most of the time when I set up that, I usually set the left channel to be vertical and the right channel to be horizontal.
And I think the default is the other way. The other way is how we've done it anyway. So left is on X and
You
Y
guys are
is on right.
Canadian, so I guess things are backwards up there,
It's
right?
metric audio. That's right.
Jeff,
So,
does
yeah.
the circle here with the Lissajous plot, how do you diagnose, how do you read that?
If I see a circle, I know it's a composite signal, and I don't have a lot of control over that. So
So you don't know if
our-
it's in phase or not.
no, I've got zero ability to read that without demodulating the MPX.
Okay, just wanted to make sure for anyone that was a little confused as to
Right.
should they be counting the dots.
Now let's see.
Art.
So this is an NV series. Click on menu if you would, Dan. And let's go to, I'm going to get it wrong 100% of the time. Let's try system settings. And upgrade software. Cool. So you are running 4.4. So that's the current version on that. All right. X out of that one if you would.
Okay.
And let's just go, nope, off a menu. Actually, no, let's stay here for a second. So user settings, lower left. All right, and under critical parameters, about halfway down on the left. So from right there, if you click capture meters, now it's reading every meter reading in the transmitter. Now if you click copy, 483 meter readings just got dumped to your clipboard. So if you're just sharing the screen, you should be able to open your clipboard or open.
Let me change which screen because if I open up
Yeah,
Excel, you're not going to see it.
right.
So let me how do I I mean okay, let me do
John's got reflected power jealousy.
oh, he does?
That's a good number. That's not bad at all.
Oh, I know it is.
Just enough to let you know that the meter's working.
Yeah. Well, actually, what happened a couple of years ago, the sensor for the reflected self-destructed,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously it shut the transmitter down.
Yep.
How do I stop? Oh, let me stop. How do I? Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna reshare my whole screen now.
Yep.
Now, aren't many stations running separate transmitters for HD?
Quite a few. So my general rule of thumb, the best way to do separate transmitters is into fully separate antennas. And if you've either got an interleaved antenna, and quite a few folks still do, I was talking to a guy yesterday with had one, or if your transmitter site is far enough out of town that, like away from your primary coverage area, that you don't have to worry about the different pattern radiation between two separate antennas. Because what'll happen if you got two separate antennas, one's digital, one's analog, as you go away from the antennas, you're going to hit peaks and nulls in the radiated pattern. And if you hit a point where you've got a digital peak on an analog null, that's going to sound bad. And if that happens to fall over a population center, it's going to sound worse. So, okay, so hit copy meters on that one again, if you would, Dan.
I did.
Okay, oh, you've already pasted them in. So let's just go to your spreadsheet. So that's basically what it does. Now, what you can do is I'll open a second tab in that spreadsheet and come back in a month and copy them in again, and then just take the meter reading column and paste it into this tab.
So I can call it January.
Or you could just call that meters, make that your master one.
Oh, okay.
And then add a second tab with the little plus sign, and then month by month, just copy the new ones into that tab and grab the readings only, the numbers only, and paste them into your master tab.
Or just use another column.
Well, yeah, right. But if you copy and paste month at a time into that, you're going to add 3 new columns with all the titles.
Oh, okay. So all right. So what I can do is call this column January.
Yep.
And then the next one,
just paste it into another sheet.
I would paste it again.
And then just grab the meter reading column, copy it.
Take this here.
Yep.
And go
and paste it into there into February.
Insert.
Insert copied cells.
Yeah.
And there you go.
It like February.
Right. And the advantage to that is now you can use Excel's graphing function to do trend plotting of any reading at all.
Mm.
So, and I mean, obviously looking at the same reading twice isn't going to do you anything, but if you're looking at the readings month over month over month after a year or two, if you start to see, for example, that scroll down a little, you'll have fan speed. There it is. So reject fan speeds is an example. If you happen to see, do you got a power amplifier failure or something going on?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, we don't.
Okay. Oh, no, they're not that high. Okay, never mind. But yeah, so if you see that the reject fan or one of them, for example, is starting to creep down, then maybe the bearing's going sideways and it's time to replace that fan.
Oh, I just tossed a fan.
There you go.
Yeah.
And see, this is just, and again, whether you're doing it directly from the transmitter like we're doing here, or whether if you've got like a Flexiva or an Acresso or an Elenos, anything you can get into with SNMP, you can set something like this up in an SNMP, SNMP I'm having a brain fart here.
Rip,
Anyway, like PRTG, like Passler, and build your own graphs.
Okay.
So those are a little more labor intensive just because it's not, not native to the gear, but the technology exists, so it makes life easier.
If you want to get really jealous,
No, don't be like this. Oh, see, I said Flexiva, now he's showing off. Okay, how do you get, so what'd you do? Just plug it into a dummy load?
no.
That's well tuned. That is good.
Yeah, we
So
got
who was it in chat was jealous of the 5 or 6 watts? Because I hope you're paying attention.
Yeah, that was me, and I am paying attention, and I am suitably impressed.
so yeah, it's always been like that. Uh,
Nice.
we had to rebuild the antenna a couple of years ago because the top of the coax burned up. But it's always been zero reflected power, even on the old transmitters we had.
See,
I happen to have a Fax 20K that's analog only, and it's one of 2 stations diplexed and combined through a filter set. It's running 18,000 forward, and it runs between 0 and 20 watts. It'll jump from 0 to 10 and then start incrementing up 10, 11, 12.
so you just got a little, like I know mine, for example, one of our bays, somebody's doing some work on the tower. We're on a power company leased tower, but they stepped on one of our bays and bent it a little. And so as the ice builds up, I can watch my modulation on my reflected power. It's kind of like having an AM on an FM. Our AM noise is probably not ideal, but on a lease tower, or our lease tower anyway, to get a new antenna or get that antenna fixed it's more money than we've had until this year. So
Yeah.
that's this year's project.
Yeah. So this is our HD.
There you go. Okay, and that's a digital only signal,
Yeah.
obviously. Yeah, and like I say, that's the kind of thing that, I mean, grab a screenshot of that every now and again and just keep it in a file. Obviously, easier to find file than wherever I just put all my screenshots. But but yeah, keep them filed and then just sort of scroll through them on occasion, and you'll see if, especially what you're going to be looking at is the shoulders around the HD signal, which is because even in a separate antenna situation, you are getting some backfeed of the analog, so you will get some intermod between the digital carriers and the analog carrier.
So in this case, the analog is being done by the Nautel and the HD by the Gates Air?
Correct.
Okay.
Then which transmitter is that, an NV20 or a 30?
Our NV is a 40.
Oh, 40. So you've got the power headroom to run it in hybrid if you wanted to. It's just going to suck your power bill down. Or up, rather. Your power bill's going up if you do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're probably a little bit better on the power by doing it this way.
Oh, you are. No question. And that comes back to Rich's question earlier about if people are doing it. And like I say, if you've got the tower, if the site is in a non-populated area 3 or 4 miles away from any significant population, then separate transmitters is probably over the long term the most cost-effective way. Upfront cost, if you had to replace them both, are going to be a little higher, but just as an ongoing power consumption, it's going to be a little cheaper with separate transmitters. So there's none wrong with doing it that
Our
way at all.
transmitters are up on top of Mount Wilson, so we're up at
Yeah.
6,000 feet.
Right. And again, by the time you get to the base of the mountain where the people are, you're a couple of miles away from the towers.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be interfering with yourself significantly, maybe on the drive down the hill here and there.
Have you
But
got power back yet, Dan?
Yes, we have power. That's why we're still running at 29 kilowatts. When we were on generator, we were running at 5 kilowatts just to save fuel.
Understood.
Mhm.
I mean, if we left this running at 29 kilowatts, we'd be, gassing up every day. But I could get about 2.5 days of endurance on the generator.
Well, as long as we have him up there, Jeff, can you
Mhm.
walk him through a few more interesting things that will help all of us to see
Well,
what's going
look,
on?
so first off, if hit the status button for me. I want to know what alarm we've got.
Oh, I've got exciter changeover issues.
Okay, there we go. Is it changing on its own? I'm curious now. We'll do some troubleshooting, or very basic troubleshooting, because I've been a sales guy too long to try and play with stuff on the phone live. But
Oh, okay. Well, I sent the exciter in, and you guys basically gave it a clean bill of health.
uh-huh.
And so I reinstalled it in the transmitter and reactivated the changeover, and it just doesn't want to change over. So we've been running on the B exciter.
Let me take a peek at that. Well, I'll tell you what. While I've got you here, let's close this and maximize the transmitter, maximize the app so I can see better. Just maximize to shoot the.
Legacy.
Thank you.
That's
All right,
why I'm
make it.
here. I'm the editor. What do you want?
That's it exactly. Now click the meter, would you? The on the meters page, the one with the magnifying glass. Yeah. All right. Click the information mark by controller.
Oh,
Okay. Well,
okay.
yeah. Let's do controller. I'm not interested in the modules right now. All right. Let me take a peek. Okay, and then I want to see just a sec. All right, so the fans are good there. Let me see the okay, low voltage supplies are also good. They're all bang on. Yeah, even the 12. So let me hit exciter A. Yeah, of course that's the one that's down at the moment.
Correct.
All right, and then flip me over to B.
The A
Huh.
battery voltage was a bit low.
A battery voltage and the fan speed is lower than I'd expect, even with it muted. Huh.
That's the on-air one, right? The B.
B is on air, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other one had a like 2.68 volts battery.
Yep, and it should be 332.
Which one? Look, let me
Or,
see here. A.
yeah. Yeah, so your battery voltage is creeping low, 'cause those are CR 2032s. And then your fan speed at 4170, normal's about 5,000 for those.
Even though it's not producing any heat internally.
We don't, they're not variable. They're on or they're off on those ones.
Okay.
Yeah, the newer transmitters, the GVs and the NV lights, we use some variable speed fans in them primarily for the monitor cooling. And on the VXs, we very much use variable speed fans. So the VX, the noise level changes a lot between full power and low power. But on these guys, no, they were all pretty much on or off were your options.
Okay. Is
So
this the same fan as everything else, or is this a unique fan?
you're going to want to look that up. I'm not going to commit to that. It's been too long since I've looked. So yeah, I don't know the answer, but it should be in the parts list. Let's take a peek here. So there, look, troubleshooting 101. This was not on my bingo card for today.
But it's fun.
It's all Barry's fault. Well, of course it is. This is why they pay me the big bucks.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I gotta.
Yeah.
This is an unofficial type thing.
Oh, okay. two things. One is three things actually.
Jeff, as we look at the information that we can see on this display,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things I remember from the Gates digit was an indication of the airflow, not just the fan speed. Is there something like that in here as well?
No.
Just stripped it
No.
out.
In other
We
words,
do-
it lets you know the condition of the filter.
That's a good idea, but no, the only thing we do that would really cover that is the temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you can see, exciter A is 20.9 Celsius. That's pretty close to 70 Fahrenheit.
Actually, I got the Nautel
Okay.
guy.
So if we look at B, we'll find out a more operating number.
And it should be a little higher, but again, it's an exciter. There's not a lot of power in there, so I'm not going to expect it to be significantly higher.
Yeah.
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 Transmitter to them.
Makes sense.
So yeah, ambient, and we do on the back of the transmitter near the air intakes have an ambient temperature display. I think that's under the controller metering.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to-
because I have a big Nautel transmitter up on Mount Wilson.
I know that Clay Freinwald had retrofitted a series of to follow the airflow on the old Continentals,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was something that you could log down and see if the filters were getting filled up with dust and things.
Yep. And like I say, I mean, for me, ambient temperature is my giveaway because if my heat sink temperature is that much higher than my intake temperature, it should be, in a mythical perfect world, it should be within about 10 degrees Celsius or 18 Fahrenheit, 18 to 20. You know,
Okay.
now heat sinks on amplifiers will tend to be a little hotter than that. But yeah, it does vary. I'm just trying to take.
Okay, I'm back.
Cool. Can we X that one, Dan, and go to the controller information? Yeah. So let's see, we've got controller temperature at 38. Can't remember if this one has ambient temperature or not. I'm not seeing it there. X out of that one and go to the power modules. Hit the down arrow to the left first. There, and hit the main RF power modules. No, up above, not that one. That's module 1.
Oh,
Yeah. That should give me, there we go. That gives me everything. And typically, as a rule, I expect the modules on the extreme outer edge to be a little hotter because they don't have airflow on both sides, just on the one. So if you scroll up to the very top, you should see their heatsink temperatures. Yeah, and see we're a little hotter toward the inside edge, the 7, 8, 9, and then toward the 1 and 16. So 2 and 3 are looking good. You get some pretty good air conditioning in there.
we have no air conditioning. It's just
Well-
cold up there today.
Okay, well, that'll work.
Now during the summertime, we were getting some really high temperatures in the building, like
Mhm.
90, 95, 100 degrees inside the shack. And in situations like that, I just turn the power down.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it will start to turn itself down, but obviously by the time you get there, you're starting to stress things. Scroll down a little more. I think it's just all fan speeds for the rest, but they're all pretty good.
I have
And
a
I
box
am-
full of fans that I replace on a regular basis.
It's like everything else. I mean, fans and blower belts. So we don't have any blower belts in this thing, but those are the two big consumable items.
And power supplies.
Yeah, that's gotten better, but it's still a pain in the rear. They don't like, and the big challenge, depending, is this transmitter new enough to have the vent in the front?
No.
Okay, so
Are you talking about the doors having?
yeah, louver doors on the front.
No, it's solid doors.
All right, so we did on the later iterations put a hole in the front panels and put a fan filter on to bring a little more cooling air into the power supplies. The things that seem to fail on those supplies the most are the fans. We don't provide them, but I'm told DigiKey carries them. and there's a little like a pico fuse that'll fail. That's not going to cover all the failures, but hey, if you grab a box of fans and it covers half the failures, it might save you swapping out some. I'm just scrolling. Actually, you know what? Here I teach courses on how to read our manuals, and I'm doing exactly what I tell people not to do, just randomly scrolling. Exciter. So I've got the transmitter manual for your transmitter open. I just want to see if that exciter fan is listed.
Now, what's the power level of each of the modules?
Nominal, and it is nominal. It's in this case going to be TPO divided by 16 because you've got 16 power modules. Or that's a 40, yeah. Should have 16 power modules.
Well, there's 8.
1, 2, 3,
No,
4,
there's 8 of them.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Now that's the 8 amplifiers in one module. So 16 of the big heavy drawers total.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so in this case, I mean, the extreme maximum, those modules are rated to handle about 3 kilowatts each. So theoretically about 48 kilowatts, although we limit it to 44 because we don't like anybody to run anything at redline. And on the newer ones, it's 4 PAs in an LD MOS module, but also 3 kilowatts nominal.
Now we have a Nautel as a backup, and I think it's got some issues I need to address.
Mm-hmm.
No,
There.
not that one. That's our remote control for, let's see, Go Country. So we're good there.
I'm not seeing Exciter parts list here, but I'll get onto the VPN and look that up. And I also noticed that you don't have the default username and password in there. Thank you.
Well, they're not accessible from outside.
Right.
Yeah, we have VPNs going to all of our transmitter sites, so
Exciter. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get into the VPN and go back to the Office network and see what I'm looking at for parts list because I'm not seeing anything in the book. Now, keep it in mind too that whatever version of the book I've got on my laptop may or may not be the same as what you got, so I'll double check that as well.
Any other particular parameters you think should be mentioned here, Jeff?
I mean, I like ambient temperature and heat sink temperatures and fan speeds as, again, just like I say, checking airflow, making sure things aren't getting too toasty. These transmitters, we spec a nominal 50 degrees Celsius or 122 Fahrenheit for an ambient temperature. But I'm here to tell you that on the NV series, my record at the moment is 156 ambient in Fahrenheit degrees, and it was melting the plastic bezel off the front of the transmitter, and still making full power. So they will go well beyond that. Just not recommended. The nominal rule, and I've said this here before, the nominal rule of thumb is that for every 10 degrees Celsius that you increase ambient, you cut the lifespan in half. And that's for semiconductors, but capacitors and fans especially, like electrolytics. Hotter you make it, the shorter it lives, the shorter its lifespan. So that's and that's been the case pretty much forever. That technology hasn't changed. Electrolytic today isn't much different than an electrolytic 20, 30, 40 years ago. But yeah, so I like to keep an eye on my heatsink temps, my ambient temp, and my overall fan speeds. As if I see, and this comes back like you'll notice here, there's a fair bit of tolerance, a fair bit of deviation. Like I'm seeing as low as 6,400 and as high as 7,400, and that's really not that unusual for these little fans. If you've got a bigger blower, then on that one you're going to be looking usually at an airflow switch. It's more of a yes, we got it, and it's enough, or no, we don't. Or somebody put a paper clip across the airflow switch, and it's just on all the time until the squirrel cage fails and the whole thing melts down. And I'm seeing a smile or two. I think somebody's seen this before, but and that comes back to troubleshooting tip number 438. If you got to bypass an interlock, unbypass it as fast as possible because leaving them bypassed is just scary. All right, I'm closing that manual. But yeah, that's in a nutshell. I mean, just figuring out what readings. Like I say, for me, I like temperatures. I like fan speeds. I do like to look at power supply voltages. Because like those 15-volt supplies we're all using meanwhile or some variation of it, and the capacitors in those will get soft over time, and again faster if it's warmer. So as you start to see your 15 volts, which is usually a regulated supply, drifting, if that starts to trend down into the 14, even 13-volt range, then it might be time to start taking some getting a little proactive on it before it fails. So that's just it in a nutshell. Like I said, I like Excel because you can graph this stuff and just keep an eye on things that are changing. Because if you just look at the meter readings once a month, yeah, that looks right. Yeah, that looks right. Cool, that looks right. But if you're looking at them and graphing them, then you can see that, oh, this one's going down. The visual makes it a whole lot easier, I think.
Does anyone in our audience have a question that you'd like to pose to Jeff about transmitter readings or key things?
Oh, there. So Alan mentions that the exciter fan in his NV5LT used the ZAP50, which is what we're using for PA fans. Might be a 68 on some of the VXs now, but yeah. So in the NVLT series at least, that means the exciter and the PAs use the same fan. But I will double check the KKGL one against our files and make sure of that. Then either me or Wilson will reach out and say, yeah, they're the same, or no, they're not. See, I get to commit Wilson to stuff because I know he's sitting here listening, or unless he fell asleep or bailed for a phone call, which makes it even better because now I can commit him to stuff and he's not here to deny.
Anybody else have a question on any of these readings or readings that you should be paying close attention to, or advice from Jeff?
One other thing too that, and I don't know if this is unique to us or not, and it irrelevant. It's worth finding out if you can do it. But on the meter readings on the screen, like I see, you've got controller PA volts and current, reject power, et cetera, and so on. You can change those as you wish. Just X them out and add new ones from the list by hitting the little tick box to the left. And beyond that, then you can save them. But if you click on the little disk, the little floppy disk up there to the right, yeah. So you've only got the default ones saved, the ones you have here. If you change them, you can give it a layout. So you could have like DJ layout. I've got one at our station that's just volts, current, and modulation. And that's our DJ layout. So when the user signs in with a DJ login, it automatically puts that meter display up on the user interface for them. So that way, yeah, there you go. And then see, the advantage to that is that you could create a totally different one, save it as you want, and it
Bounce
just
back
gives
and
you.
forth between meter sections, or
Yep, you can do it that way. Like I say, with us, the DJs only get to see volts, current, and modulation. They don't need to know the temperature at the transmitter site. I, on the other hand, very much want to know the temperature at the transmitter site. So, yeah, we've discovered we've got 30, I think we're up to 35 on-air hosts, all volunteers. So, everybody's working for free with various levels of experience. The simpler I can make the interface they have to look at, the happier everybody is.
That's the transmitter interior temperature, not the transmitter site temperature.
Which one?
What you were just referring to.
It depends.
Well, there is no ambient temperature.
On this one, no. On mine, there is.
Oh, well.
So I'll rephrase. On
snotty.
the long-term goal is to have them all the same, but if we don't have a thermistor in the air intake, then you're not getting an ambient temperature reading because it requires a physical part.
Exactly.
So-
Exactly.
Okay, so I have this controller temperature, and right now it's running at 38, but it was running just the last summer. It was popping up into the yellow area, and that's when I decided to turn the power down.
Yeah. So Alan asked in the chat if you could share the meter list among different logins for the same transmitter or export to import it into others. And the short answer is you can't. What you can do is, let's see if we can do it on this one. Dan, can I get you to just click the menu? I'll minimize
Hold on. I need to. There we go.
Okay, on menu, oops, nope. Sorry, on menu, go back to user settings, lower left, and critical parameters. So on critical parameters, you've got a capture settings button. And then copy settings once it's done, there. Okay, now open like a clipboard or a notepad or whatever. There you go, and just paste there. So in there you get all of your presets, and if you scroll down, or up rather, sorry, it was down. Don't remember if it does this. Okay, so that is not presets. Never mind. Let's go back to the transmitter. And oh, there it is, capture preset. Look how, yeah, I'm dumb and blind today. There we go. So that gives you preset settings. In that one, I don't think you get users there either. So no, the short answer, Alan, is no, you don't. You're better off just writing down, or I cheat. I use my phone and take a picture of my laptop just so I can see what meter readings I grabbed. Mr. McClellan, what reject power do you like to see in a GV15 power module? It's a pretty wide bar. If you look in the manual under the different alarm IDs, I think it's in the troubleshooting manual. Let's go handbooks, FM. Come on now, sluggish. There we go. GV series. I'll pick one at random. Troubleshooting. That's not even the newest one, so I am working real time here. All right, and search for reject. So let's see, reject load. So the high power, that's the output network reject load. Let's see what else we got. Next. Splitter, RF power module, that was reject fold up. So 1500 watts is the threshold here. H does a shutback at 1800. Module reject power, it doesn't give me the threshold for that one. There it is. So power module combiner threshold is 600 watts. So at 147, you're a quarter of the threshold. So yeah, I wouldn't panic about that. The bias will vary a lot from one amplifier to another because component tolerances are not what they used to be in a lot of cases. So that, yeah, I mean, 147 is not terrible. Let's say you're a quarter of the tolerance or quarter of the threshold. I'm just peeking to see who else in here, who's in and who's paying attention. All right, any other questions? This may be the easier or our shortest one yet, Barry.
If you
But
want to open your microphone, press the space bar or alternate A.
But yeah, no, I'd say the big thing for me is the temperatures. A lot of people live and die on the older gear with volts and current, but on most of this stuff, like I said, I mean, I do monitor the voltage to make sure it's not changing. I pay almost no attention to the current draw. I mean, it's typically either there or not there.
All right. Well, Jeff, I really appreciate your taking us inside here and showing us these pictures, and Dan for his help.
Yeah, no, thanks very, very much, Dan, for that.
Yeah,
And I
any
say,
any updates on the
go ahead, go ask it.
Guess what?
on the from this this is basically Flash.
Mhm.
Any updates on the
HTML5.
HTML5 updates?
So as of about an hour and a half ago, we were sending out the I'm not going to say that again, Barry, because we confused ourselves so much the last time. We were sending out a few HTML5 AUIs for older GV series. Okay, so if that falls according to plan, then I would like to. I don't want to guess at a time because holy smokes, every time I've tried to guess at a time, I've screwed it up so royally it's just become laughable. But it does look like there is forward progress, and it has been so glacially slow that that anything I say will be wrong. However, it is kind of cool to see at least beta stuff going out for the older GVs. The new GVs and the VX are running it all out of the door now. So getting it onto the older stuff would be a good first step,
I would
even
imagine
even if it's the newest older stuff.
I would imagine the goal is before NAB.
Yeah, I'm sure that's somebody's goal. I'm not, again, I've been so laughably wrong every time I've tried to guess, I'm not even go there. I know that the VX is still in process, and I know every time we think we've got it figured out, we find something else that we've broken, or that was broken, or that didn't have the horsepower. There was a concept floated last fall that looked pretty cool, and I don't know how that's progressing. And I say last fall, it was like December, but I don't know how that's progressing, so I don't really have an answer on that.
Well, now that Matt's
Uh,
back, he may take a look for you.
well, and again, I don't know what Matt's role will be. We've got another week or two, but yeah, Matt's back with us. So if nothing else, I'm going to drag him in here for old time's sake some week.
Yes.
But yeah, that one, if we can get the VX and the GV done and dusted, the rest gets pretty easy because the NV Lite and the low power NX use the same ARM processor infrastructure as the VS does, and the original NV and the high power NX use the same single board computer with backup media. Now, whether it's compact flash or SSD becomes kind of an irrelevant thing at this point. It'll all be SSD at the end of the game. But they use the same thing as the GV does. So we've only really got two primary platforms. It's just dealing with all the iterations of each over the past 15 years.
Yeah, this transmitter has the current software in it because we had a flash card failure some time ago.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
and I mean, a flash card is a finite read-write device. So I told somebody, and I mean, cell phone, the same thing. I mean, not this one because Android's gone the iPhone way and doesn't have the ability to put in a SD card anymore. But anything I've had with an SD card, as soon as I buy one, the first thing I do is clone it because, yeah, you just anything like that, you can guarantee that you read and write. And I think in the VX, that's one of the things in the manual that they tell you is, you get an SD card, the first thing you do is copy it to another SD card.
Not a bad idea. Maybe I should buy another one because they're not that expensive anymore.
Yeah, there, see, Brian nailed it before NAB of which year. So my running joke, and it's become less a joke every year. I turned 60 this year, and I said that I'd like to see AUI as HTML5 across the board before I retire.
Well,
Now,
you won't be retiring to 80.
well, so I plan on retiring at 65, but it's a moving target, that's for sure. I'm still having way too much fun to think too much about retiring just yet.
All right. Well, Jeff, again, we thank you. We'll look forward to seeing you next month and find out how we can buy transmitters for half price.
Look, I'm looking forward to hearing that conversation too, because if you can figure it out, tell me, we'll do it together.
Oh, goodness.
I told
Good
somebody,
time.
they say, can I get a 50% discount? And I said, sure, I'll just mark list up 100% and you got it.
Now, there you know, the Canadian way of doing business.
I don't think that's unique to us, but there you
No.
are. All right. Well, on that note, I will drop out and we will see you all. Let's see. Well, some folks I'm going to see in Michigan at the end of this month. And then I don't think I've got anything planned for next month. So you will see all the first week of March.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome. Hey, and by the way, before I go, if anybody listening has any ideas on stuff to talk about, and it doesn't have to be Nautel related, then throw it at Barry and we'll make it a topic.
And I'll add to that on Tuesday, I sent out the reminder list of the topic for the week. And if you would like to get a little ping on Tuesday, just send me an email and I will add you to that list.
Ben, I'm here to tell you that this week was the reminder to me because I'd totally forgotten what we said we were talking about. All right, I'll let you go. We'll see y'all later.
Be good, Jeff.